Hello and welcome. I'm Kim Denyes, and I'm a spiritual director in Easton, Pennsylvania, and I am traveling through the Old Testament with you. And we are in Genesis, the 29th chapter today, about that area. We're going to go a few chapters in, and we're going to follow Jacob. Jacob and Esau, they're twins. They have parted company with animosity, as I finished the last YouTube video with, and Jacob is fleeing for his life. He believes he's fleeing for his life. His mom has said, go back to my brother, go back to Laban. And so Jacob is making the trip back to Turkey. That's their original land. So he goes back there and he immediately, very quickly meets Rachel. She's a shepherdess. She is one of Laban's daughters. He has two. He falls in love with her. Jacob is always known in the Bible as kind of the tricky one. And he meets in Laban kind of a kindred spirit because Laban's a bit tricky himself. He's a bit greedy. We saw last time the exchange that revealed that greediness in Laban. The two men make an agreement for Rachel's hand in marriage that Jacob will work for him for 7 years, free labor. On the night of the wedding, Jacob is tricked and is given the older daughter, Leah, as his bride. He's too drunk to know it. He wakes up the next morning and realizes he has been wed to the woman he didn't necessarily love as a wife. Laban and he work out a deal where he gets Rachel's hand also in marriage and works yet another 7 years. So he works 14 years there with Laban. Things begin to get a little tricky, a little unsettled between the two men. Laban thinks that Jacob is cheating him because his livestock are much more fertile than his. And so Jacob, once again, his pattern is to run when he is in trouble, and he runs under dark of night. Packs up his household and runs. Laban is, of course, infuriated when he finds this out and tracks him down. As he's going to track him down, he is told not to mess with him by God. Laban is told to leave him alone, that he is blessed of God. And so they reach peace. They reach quite a beautiful agreement. It's something you might want to read in the Bible. It's about how they will navigate this and how Jacob will treat the daughters. It's lovely. A beautiful exchange, really. Now remember, Jacob is heading back to the Promised Land area. He knows he's going to have to meet his brother. And he fears for his life. He fears his brother could want to kill him. He hears his brothers coming towards him with 400 men. That sounds like an army to Jacob. And Jacob, in a beautiful exchange, runs towards him. I almost get the image of him hiking up his skirts, as Henry Nouwen says. Henry Nouwen, in his book, The Prodigal Son, talks about the time period in which the prodigal son, that's a parable, which is set. It would have been undignified for wealthy men to hike up their skirts in order to run. And they would have had to pull them up in order to run. And that's the sense we have here with Jacob. He runs towards Esau. They make amends. Jacob wants to give him a ton of gifts. Esau says, I have enough. I don't need your gifts. It's a really lovely exchange about maturity and how much, in that question of how much do we need. So that gets settled. Now Jacob is moving on. There's some dreams along the way where God continues to reveal to Jacob that he is going to bless him. We hear the same words, similar words that he used with Abraham. The land will be yours. You and your people will be a blessing. You'll be a blessing to the whole world, is what the promise to Jacob is. It goes a little bit further than maybe what we saw with Abraham. Again, one land, one God, one people. We see that very clearly. You know what? I want to go back to Laban because I forgot something, and I've got it right here, and I want to just talk about it quickly. There is a scene when in the Laban chasing down Jacob and his family, where Laban says, you have stolen the gods, the household gods. And Jacob says, if we have, he says, everything I have here I think is mine. But if we've got the household gods, that person who has them shall not live. And who has them is Rachel. Rachel has tucked them into her saddlebag. Now she does. We don't know if it's truth or if it's fiction, but she says that the way of the woman is upon her, which means she's menstruating, and so she's not searched, nor are her bags. There's a sense she's maybe sitting on her camel, and that her saddlebags have the household gods. I've often thought that they probably were just small, kind of pocket gods. I saw this at a thrift shop and picked it up. I don't know really what it is, to be honest. It looks like something, though, that people could perhaps have worshipped. Just made out of some clay with a little bit of decoration on it. I'm not sure if you can see that. But that's what I imagine. It's important to note that the household gods are there because one of the things God wants from this people is to be their only God. And before today's over, we'll tie back to this. So Jacob continues his route back to Bethlehem, is where he's going to be. He has another encounter with God where we say it's God, we're not sure, but it seems it is, where he wrestles with a divine being. And he will not let go of that divine being until he is blessed. There is almost a beautiful, dare I say, greed, dare I say, deep longing. Let's maybe land there in Jacob. He wants all God has for him. And so in this wrestling match, he is overpowering this heavenly being until the heavenly being dislocates his hip. And that helps the heavenly being to escape. From that point on, we know Jacob walks with a limp. That is perhaps a mark, a reminder to him of what this journey in God has cost. The journey of God isn't free. It is come and die in a way. Come and be free also. So he has the cost, he pays this cost of this hip being dislocated in the dream. And around the same time, God says, you are no longer to be called Jacob, but you are to be called Israel. Israel. Between the two sisters, I should say, among the four women, two sisters, Leah and Rachel, and then two maids, each of them have a maid. Jacob is father to 12 sons and one daughter. These 12 sons become the 12 tribes of Israel. They are named accordingly. Each one of the sons I believe each one of them has a naming ceremony, which speaks to how important they are going to be. We are going to follow them as we get into this. One of the last things we see with Jacob and with his wives and the conception in this family building is God comes to him and leaves him with some instructions. He says, go to Bethlehem and settle there. Make an altar to the God who appeared to you as you were fleeing from your brother. So he ties him back to that. There's an original dream that they have where God promises blessings to him and God shows up. He sees him face to face. Put away your foreign gods that are among your household. That is going to be God's call and God's cry to the people of Israel. Put away your foreign gods. Stop worshiping clay, silver. Stop worshiping that which you can see and worship the unseen God. Purify yourselves. Change your clothes. And your name is changed also. This is where God says you're going to become Israel and you're no longer Jacob. Soon after that, Rachel dies in childbirth, giving birth to Benjamin. He'll be the youngest of the 12 tribes. And we know that the two brothers, Esau and Jacob, go back and bury their father Isaac. So there seems like the union, the resolution between them, the reconciliation between them stays. And we can end there because the next bit, the next chapter, if you will, and I think we're right on 34, if I remember correctly, we're going to get to follow the story of Joseph. Joseph, who is sold by his brothers. So let's just recap quickly and see what we see about God and Jacob. So here we have a man in Jacob that runs from his home, ends up running from his father-in-law, but also runs towards the brother with whom he needs reconciliation. We see a man both used and maybe tricked, who also is tricky. And we see a man hungry, determined for all God has for him. I firmly believe God still has things for us. I pray that you might be hungry and thirsty for that which God has for you. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today, it's helpful if you hit like and subscribe and those good things, the world we're in. I encourage you to take a minute, maybe two, and see what settles in your heart. Are you running from something? Do you need to run to God? Do you need to just stop and be with God? All is welcomed, right? And may these words and this time together strengthen and encourage you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye now.